Local election day is next Tuesday. Ardmore High School will continue virtual learning for a third week after geothermal units flooded a portion of campus, and HFV Wilson Community Center is getting ready for summer break. These stories and more on This Week in Ardmore from Ardmore Leader. I'm News Director Michael Dean Smith. Thank you for downloading episode 58 of This Week in Ardmore, a weekly podcast from Ardmore Leader, dedicated to independent coverage of local news. Let's catch up on a few things I've been following around Ardmore, Oklahoma for the week of April 3rd. Ardmore voters will head to the polls next Tuesday to decide several local races and ballot measures. 2 days of early voting wrap up this week, leaving just one more chance for local voters to head to their polling stations on April 7th. Ardmore voters will decide 2 school board races, another school bond package, and will decide the fate of a proposed 1-cent sales tax earmarked for Ardmore street and drainage improvements. Polling places across Ardmore, and across the state for that matter, will be open on Tuesday, April 7th from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. You can check your voter registration, find your local polling place, and view sample ballots by visiting or calling the Carter County Election Board. Ardmore High School students will continue virtual learning next week as the district works to recover from flooding at the school last month. An update from the district on Wednesday said that the high school students and staff will hold a third week of virtual learning next week while multiple air conditioning units are repaired. Over spring break last month, thousands of gallons of water were removed from the roof after geothermal units started leaking hazardous water. Restoration crews have been on campus for 2 weeks now to address the damage of water running down walls and leaking from the ceiling. This week's update said that while air quality has improved in the high school, the lack of proper HVAC could still lead to unsafe conditions. Plenty of people were at the Regional Park softball complex on Thursday night for the annual Easter egg extravaganza. Kids wielding flashlights and Easter baskets were scattered across the complex just after sunset on Thursday, as children separated into age groups and then hunted for 30,000 eggs. Families were also able to enjoy snacks, face painting, bounce houses, and other fun in what was the Ardmore Parks and Recreation Department's 20th annual Easter egg hunt. Carter County remained under a burn ban this week as fire conditions continued in the area. County commissioners on Monday renewing that ban and at the recommendation of area fire officials. Despite receiving about half an inch of rain in Ardmore earlier this week, the U.S. Drought Monitor on Thursday showed Carter County still dealing with severe and extreme drought conditions. HFV Wilson Community Center is getting ready for summer. Later this month, registration will begin for the center's summer camps. In the Junction this week, we'll talk with Center Director TWiA Baker about the programs and camps offered this summer and throughout the year. We'll also talk about the limitations of hosting some of these programs in a facility that dates back to the 1940s. We'll also get an update on their efforts to raise $10 million for a planned massive upgrade to that facility. Up on the website this weekend and in our printed newsletter going out this Friday, we'll have some photos from Thursday's Easter egg hunt at Regional Park. There's also a column from Ardmore Leader co-owner Kim Benedict about what she sees as the most important parts of building a long-term relationship. You can read this week's column, along with previous editorials and letters to the editor, over on the opinion section of the website, ardmoreleader.com. After the news, we'll catch up with Ardmore financial advisor Cody Steele, get a look at how some stocks of local interest are closing out this trading week. Plus, we'll hear his market snapshot commentary from Friday. And with that, that's the headlines. Now let's really get into the weeds of what happened this week in Ardmore for the week of April 3rd, 2026. Voters across the state will head to the polls next Tuesday, April 7th for general elections. Carter County alone will have 13 elections, including some local issues out in Healdton, Lone Grove, and over in Dixon. Ardmore will have its own share of local elections with 8 candidates vying for 3 elected positions, plus a tax proposition and 2 school bonds. To start off, voters in Ardmore will actually be among those across 16 school districts in southern Oklahoma that will decide if Georgianne Westfall will keep her seat on the Southern Tech School Board, or if Kathy Roaring will be the newest person to occupy that seat in some 20 years. Ardmore voters will also decide the fate of a proposed 1-cent sales tax increase to pay for city road improvements. That proposal does include a sunset clause, meaning that the tax would expire after 10 years if it's not renewed by voters. Proponents of it include the city commissioners and the city manager, say that the estimated $80 million generated from that sales tax could make a real impact on the roughly $250 million problem related to poor street conditions and poor stormwater drainage. For the first time since 2021, a seat on the Ardmore City Commission has drawn 4 contenders to serve the next 3-year term. Incumbent Doug Pfau is seeking a 5th term as Ardmore's at-large commissioner, but he's facing multiple challenges from Brian Edge, Buddy Simon, and Scott Stahl. Edge has lived in Ardmore since the early 2000s and currently works in technology for Ardmore's largest hospital. Simon said he's actually worked with a small coalition of other local residents to help relocate over 130 unhoused people to other cities of their choice. Stahl had an unsuccessful bid for the city commission last year, but he believes that the campaign built momentum for this year's bid for that at-large position. An election for a seat on the Ardmore City Schools Board of Education has Harry Spring seeking a 3rd 5-year term on the board to continue having a role in public education in the district from which he graduated. Jimmy John, however, is running for the school board with criticisms of recent board spending approvals for things like vehicles and upgrades to the district's administrative offices. And Plainview voters will decide whether to approve a $42 million bond package that includes extensive upgrades to that school district's activity center and some other upgrades across nearly every campus. School officials say that the 2 bond measures, if approved by voters, are not projected to increase taxes in the district. Now, all of these local candidates accepted invitations to join my public affairs podcast, The Junction, for a 10-part interview series with local candidates. City Manager Kevin Boatwright and Mayor John Creedle Jr. also accepted invitations to talk about that proposed Ardmore sales tax. And Plainview School Superintendent Carl Stricker also joined to talk about the 2 bond proposals that will appear on district ballots there. All of these interviews can be found in full on our website, ardmoreleader.com, or by searching for Ardmore Leader wherever you stream music and podcasts. Polling places across Ardmore will be open on Tuesday, April 7th from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. You can check your voter registration, find your local polling place, and view sample ballots by visiting the state election board online or by calling the Carter County Election Board. Ardmore High School students and staff will continue virtual learning for a 3rd week next week after damaged geothermal units on the school's roof flooded classrooms and storage areas last month. An update from the Ardmore City Schools on Wednesday said that 33 HVAC units connected to a geothermal loop must be repaired, with parts getting ordered that day after insurance approval. A portion of Wednesday's statement saying that although air quality within the building remains acceptable, the lack of functioning AC units on this geothermal loop creates unsafe conditions in portions of the building outside of the front office. Now, back on March 18th, the district announced that about 4,000 gallons of water were removed from the southeastern portion of the high school roof while the campus was closed for spring break. More water was later found on the northwest portion of the roof on Thursday, March 26th, the following week. Those water leaks were linked to the building's geothermal system and did contain hazardous water. The roof flooding also caused extensive damage to walls, carpets, desks, and some chemicals storage areas. Ardmore High School students and staff have not held in-person classes since March 12th, which was before spring break. Wednesday's statement from the district said that virtual learning would continue through Thursday, April 9th, when a decision about the following week would be made. Now, last week, the high school cafeteria was able to resume operations for students needing breakfast and lunch on school days, and 11th grade students also were able to hold ACT testing in the gymnasium last month. According to the district's school year calendar, classes across the district move to 4-day weeks beginning next week. There are 2 Fridays this month, April 10th and April 17th, which are set aside for inclement weather makeup days, and then no school on Friday through the end of the school year. The final academic day of the current school year for Ardmore City Schools is Wednesday, May 20th. Hey, do you have any good news you want Ardmore to know about? We can actually feature those kind of announcements online. We can feature them in print. We can even put them on this podcast for free. Visit ardmoreleader.com and then check out the announcements page to submit your birth, engagement, or anniversary announcements. In just a moment, we'll catch up with Jemiah Baker over at HFV Wilson Community Center about when registration begins for summer camps. We'll also get an update on their goal of raising some $10 million for a huge center upgrade. But first, let's catch up with Ardmore financial advisor Cody Steele to hear how some stocks of local interest performed during this short trading week right after his Edward Jones Market Snapshot commentary.
This is financial advisor Cody Steele from Edward Jones, bringing you the daily financial market report from Thursday. Bonds and equities shook off a weak start to Thursday's session to close higher, helped by building hopes that the Strait of Hormuz could at least partially reopen. These encouraging signals had little effect on spot oil prices, which remain elevated at $112 a barrel, but pushed down expectations for prices later in 2026, according to forward markets. In response, the S&P 500 index finished 0.1% higher, while the NASDAQ and Russell 2000 delivered larger gains. U.S. government bond markets were down at market open, but rebounded through the day, with yields closing lower. The dollar strengthened against a basket of trade-weighted currencies, and gold prices moved lower. Hopes for a de-escalation in the conflict in Iran had built this week after comments from President Trump that the military campaign would be over shortly, and that the U.S. could step back even if it had not secured a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. However, the president's address to the nation on Wednesday night provided little clarity on what off-ramps might look like, and if anything, warned of further escalation in the short term at least. There was a reference to ongoing discussions with Iranian leadership, but little detail, and the president signaled that the U.S. bombing campaign would continue, if not intensify. Market concerns over these headlines were calmed by news that Iran is drafting a protocol with Oman to monitor traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. The prospect of increased oil flows through this important waterway is an encouraging step, but uncertainty remains high around the path to a fuller reopening and normalization of global energy markets. Friday's non-farm payroll report for March will provide a timely check-in on the health of the U.S. labor market in the early innings of the oil shock. The February reading showed a disappointing 90,000 decline in payrolls, although we suspect this was at least partially driven by strike action and seasonal dynamics in early 2026. March should show some rebound in our view, with the Bloomberg economist consensus penciling in a solid $75,000 rise in payrolls over the month. Other labor market indicators look consistent with this forecast, with initial unemployment insurance claims low, ADP private sector unemployment accelerating slightly, and survey data pointing to still solid labor market dynamics. The risk stands that higher energy costs and rising uncertainty over the outlook could further discourage hiring and push unemployment higher. However, such a deterioration would likely take time to materialize and require a larger and more prolonged oil price spike, in our view. On Thursday, U.S. equities closed higher. The Dow closed down 61 points, or 0.13%, at 46,505. The NASDAQ closed up 38 points, or 0.18%, at 21,879. The S&P 500 closed up 7 points, or 0.11%, at 6,583. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields were trading at 4.31%, lower by 0.02 percentage points. In stocks of local interest on Thursday, O'Reilly's was down 68 cents to $91.42 a share. OG&E was up 50 cents to $48.76 a share. Dollar Tree was down 26 cents to $108.44 a share. Dollar General was up $2.57 to $119.74 a share. Walmart was up $1.05 to $125.79 a share. ExxonMobil was down 9 cents to $160.69 a share. Valero was up $2.63 to $244.09 a share. Devon was down 90 cents to $49.49 a share. And lastly, Best Buy was up 19 cents to $64.50 a share. In commodity markets on Thursday, the price of crude oil was up $11.66, or 11.65%, at $111.80 a barrel. And the spot price of gold was down $118.90, or 2.47%, to $4,694.20 an ounce. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cody Steele, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 333 West Main Street, Suite 275 in Ardmore, Oklahoma. If you would like additional information, please contact me at 580-223-3870. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Does your group or organization have a public event coming up? Every single episode of This Week in Ardmore wraps up with the schedule to give listeners an idea of a few things happening around town. Email your event details to connect@ardmoreleader.com or just give me a call, 319-9688, and tell me all about it. Thanks for stopping by The Junction, where we're trying to make connections between Ardmorites. I'm Ardmore Leader News Director Michael Dean Smith. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about HFV Wilson Community Center and their goal to raise $10 million to help update and upgrade that facility that dates back to 1948. Joining us on the phone this week to talk about that capital building fund and some of the programs offered there at HFV Wilson Community Center is their Executive Director, TWiA Baker. TWiA, thanks for joining us on The Junction this week.
Thank you for having me.
So just for anybody that might not be familiar with this, back in 2024, the HFV Wilson Community Center set this goal to raise $10 million to do a pretty big expansion of that facility. And just kind of so far, how is that fundraiser going and how much money have you guys raised?
So it's going actually really, really amazing. We are at currently about 6.2 million. And that's, with about a year and a half into it. We have been successful with, local, people given to the organization, as well as foundations, stakeholders, and the community just really buying into the idea, of a new facility for the community center. So it's been really good. It's moved a lot faster than what we expected, honestly. And we're hoping, by June of 2026 that we will have all funds raised. So.
Okay. So you had mentioned this is going to be to kind of help expand some of the community center's offerings. What are some of the current limitations that the current facility kind of poses? Where is space the tightest for y'all right now?
So our facility currently, as far as space, we can hold about 799 people within the entire facility. With an expansion, it increases by about 1,000 or more. Just to kind of give some logistics, our classrooms right now, we're able to fit 19 people in it, whereas with our new facility, we'll be able to fit about anywhere from 36 to 40 people per classroom. And so whenever it comes to our after school programs, our summer camps, our senior citizen programs that we have, and many more, we have to often limit how many people are able to access those events and those programs due to safety. And so this expansion is huge. It's something that's needed. And also we'll be able to, with the new building, one of the biggest things was us getting up to code. And so with the new building, we are actually going to have a sprinkler system within the entire building. And so that's pretty huge. With the building being built in 1948, that wasn't really a necessity. And so we're making those up to code and safety things that are needed now more than ever. Those are priority for sure.
You had mentioned that so far you've raised about $6.2 million out of this larger $10 million goal. How is that kind of those donations been broken down? Has it been primarily like smaller donations? Have you guys had success with some of those larger sponsorships? Kind of where's that money coming from?
So quite a few are from foundations and grants. So the larger portion of them are from foundation and grants. But I will say, as the city of Ardmore and a community as a whole and individual stakeholders, that also takes up a big portion of it. And so without looking at it, I would say, anywhere from about 25 to 30,000 is just individual donations from individuals in the community and or organizations that are believing in the entire building campaign. And so I think that that just goes to say how important the community center is to the community as a whole, and they really want to see this through and they want to see it happen. And I think that's really important, and I think it's also pretty awesome, honestly.
I know HFV Wilson Community Center's been a staple in Ardmore for decades. Obviously, a lot of the programs, a lot of the camps and things you guys offer really, really popular. Even you said that you've had to turn people away because of space limitations. What are some of those more popular programs that you guys offer? But maybe more too, what are some of those kind of hidden gems of programs that HFE does?
So our summer camp program is a really, really big one. We have 225 students during the summer. And with a bigger building, we're able to take quite a few more. But every summer that I've been there, the last 10 years, we have 100 students on the waiting list. And we fill up, we open up registration on Monday, and we're completely full by Wednesday. Um, and it's the same with our after school programs. This year we actually opened to service Long Grove, and Long Grove, that sign up was filled up completely the day that we opened registration.
Wow.
And so as well as our Plainview registration and Ardmore schools. And so those things, it's such a huge need, as far as after school programs and things like that, for people to have, a safe place for their children to go while they're still working and they're doing things. And so those are some of the really, really big ones that we see. At our basketball games, we often run into capacity issues as far as too many people being in the gymnasium. And if it gets to where it exceeds the capacity, then we have to say, hey, you guys are going to have to wait out here until the next game concludes, and then we'll allow you guys to go in the gym. And so those are, just some of those things that, a lot of people don't think about, honestly, but whenever it comes to safety, those are things that we think about on a day-to-day. Is, we have to make sure things are safe, but we also, we don't want to have to turn people away. And people ask, what's one of the things that you're looking forward to most? And the thing that I'm looking forward to most is not having to turn people away from different programs and different things that we're doing. And I know something that really bothers me is that during the summer, because we have 225 kids in the building from 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, our senior citizen programs, we have to put them on halt in June and July.
Oh, wow.
And it's because we don't have the space for them to be in the facility, because we have, all those kids all day. And so, I know that's something, that they look forward to as senior citizens, to be able to get out and fellowship and do things that they don't get to do on a regular. And for those 2 months in the summer, they don't get to do those things. So that's something, that is one of those hidden things a lot of people don't know.
And what about any programs that people sign up for and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't know this kind of thing was even offered? What are some of those programs that kind of stay under the radar?
So the other day we had somebody call, and they were asking about our summer camp, and they were new to town, and they said, it's Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30. We take them on field trips. And they get breakfast, lunch, and a snack daily. And they said, well, how much is it? And we said it's $100 for June and then $100 for July. And they said, $200? And I said, yes. And they said, oh my gosh, like, there's no hidden fees. There's no, like, that's it. Like, and they were coming from, Edmond area. And they said, there's nothing else that we have to pay for. And we were like, well, for concession, and if you guys want to go on field trips with the kids, things like that. And they were amazed at how, how cheap it is. But I explained to her, we try to make it affordable, because childcare is such a huge necessity. And it's something that a lot of people aren't able to afford. And so if we can help in any way, shape, form, or fashion to be able to take that burden off of parents and or guardians, that's something that we want to be able to do. And our after school program, we pick up the students, they come to our facility, they get a supper, we tutor, do homework with them, and that's $50 a month. And with Ardmore transitioning to the grade centers, we actually take students to school now also.
Oh, wow.
And that's just for $25 a month. And so we open at 6:45 daily. And the kids come in, they eat breakfast, and they get ready, and then we put them on our vans, and then we transport them to school. And so that's something that's also helped parents, because if they have multiple children and they have to travel and from here to there and be at work by 8, that's very difficult for some. And so that's something that we're able to do and we're able to help with. And all of our programs, we try to make sure that they are affordable, and people are able to pay. And if they can't, you know with the help of grants and foundations, and we're able to offer scholarships also to families as well.
Good. We're talking with TWiA Baker. She's the executive director over at the HFV Wilson Community Center. They're still in the middle of their capital building fundraiser, trying to raise $10 million to expand that historic community center that dates back to 1948. If you want some more information about some of the center's programs, or on how to donate or even become one of the big sponsors for that capital building fund, you can find them online, hfvwilsoncenter.com. TWiA, before we go, I know we've got summer break coming up here in just a couple of weeks. A lot of those summer programs you had mentioned to be kind of starting to kick off. What are some of those sign-up deadlines that parents especially are going to need to know before summer comes around?
So our early registration for campers that are currently in our after-school program or were in our summer camp 2025 starts April the 13th, Monday, April 13th at 7:30 a.m. And then open registration for anyone that is not a part of that early registration will begin Thursday, and that morning at 8 a.m.
Okay.
And so, and those registrations are all in person. We've tried in the past to do online, but whenever you have a million people trying to sign up online, your website will mess up and all those things.
So we've got for early registration for campers that were in there last summer, April 13th, and then open registration is going to be on that Thursday, April 16th, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, we've been speaking with TWiA Baker, the executive director of the HFV Wilson Community Center, talking about some of the programs they've got coming up, as well as that huge capital building fund. Their goal is to raise $10 million. Currently, they're sitting at about $6.2 million. For more information on those programs or how to give to that capital building fund, you can find their website online, hfvwilsoncenter.com. TWiA Baker, thank you so much for joining me this week to kind of get us caught up with HFV Wilson and how that capital fundraiser is going. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for downloading episode 58 of This Week in Ardmore. This is our area's original weekly news and public affairs podcast from Ardmore's only locally owned newsroom, Ardmore Leader. Now, you may have heard about our weekly printed newsletter that we distribute to some restaurants and some waiting rooms around town. Did you know you can actually have a digital copy of that newsletter sent directly to your email every Friday? Check out the website, ardmoreleader.com, and then scroll to the bottom of the homepage to get signed up for free. And make sure you're actually following Ardmore Leader online. You've obviously found the podcast, so make sure you're subscribed. Links and details are over on our independently owned podcast server, listen.ardmoreleader.com, or wherever you stream music and podcasts, just search for Ardmore Leader. We're also on social media, anywhere from Facebook to Mastodon to TikTok. Just search Ardmore Leader. You can also find our content paywall free on our website, ardmoreleader.com. And if you want to see your thoughts published locally or maybe even want to be part of the podcast, take note of this. You're invited to sound off either on the podcast, on the website, or in the weekly printed newsletter. Visit ardmoreleader.com, head to the opinion section, and then submit your letter to the editor there. You can also record a voice note on your smartphone and then email that to soundoff@ardmoreleader.com. Please keep your recording under 60 seconds and make sure you include your full name in the email so you can stand behind your statements. Now, if your group or organization has a public event coming up, let me know and I'll see about getting it on the schedule. This is a weekly calendar of events on our area's original local news podcast, This Week in Ardmore. In public meetings next week, the Carter County Commission will hold their regular meeting on Monday morning, April 6th at 9 a.m. at the County Administration Building. They're on the corner of A Street and Broadway. That agenda is available on the county's website, cartercountyok.us. Among items to be considered by the County Commission next week is a possible renewal of the countywide burn ban, they'll also be considering a possible agreement with the Chickasaw Nation for some improvements to Prairie Valley Road. The Ardmore City Commission will meet for their first regular meeting of the month coming up on Monday evening, April 6th at 6 p.m. on the third floor of Ardmore City Hall. The agenda for that meeting can be found on the city's website, ardmorecity.org. Registration for youth baseball and softball is happening now through the Ardmore Family YMCA. From blast ball for the 3-year-olds to baseball and fast-pitch softball for high school sophomores, registration is happening now through Monday, April 6th. They're at the front desk of the Ardmore Family YMCA. A multifamily garage sale will be happening at the Marketplace on Broadway next week. The Carter County Federation of Democratic Women will host the garage sale coming up on Saturday, April 11th, beginning at 9 a.m. They're expected to have various things like kitchenware, some tools, clothing, travel gear, and more. This is happening on Saturday, April 11th from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Marketplace on Broadway, 106 East Broadway in Ardmore. Ardmore Parks and Recreation is inviting dog owners to hit the trails at the Regional Park Dog Park this month. Coming up on Saturday, April 11th, grab the leash and join a relaxed, dog-friendly walk where pups of all sizes are welcome. This event being hosted by the Ardmore Parks and Recreation Department, Barktown, and Ardmore Animal Care. This will happen at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 11th at the Regional Dog Park. Area tweens will have their own opportunity to welcome in the spring weather with the HFV Wilson Community Center Sneaker Ball Spring Fling for 5th and 6th graders. A pro photographer will be capturing all the fashion, while a pro DJ will be keeping the vibes alive. This Sneaker Ball Spring Fling at HFV Wilson Community Center is happening on Friday, April 17th from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Advance tickets are $10 per student or $15 at the door. Concessions and those photo opportunities will also be available. Call 319-5350 for more information or to buy those advance tickets. I'm Ardmore Leader News Director Michael Dean Smith. Thank you for listening to episode 58 of This Week in Ardmore. Follow us online, ardmoreleader.com, or on social media. And until next Friday, I hope you have a positive week ahead.